at our fix for Power Athlete Radio. We got a fun question. I personally love these battles in which our caller is asking us for some guidance, and it's going after the old ball coach. You ready, John?
Let's do it.
I'm calling in regards to weight room culture and tips at the high school level. I currently am an athletic director at a school in the Midwest in the great state of Michigan. And the one thing that seems to be a disconnect is the old ball coach and the implementation of a solid weightlifting program.
A lot of the Power Athlete methodology viewpoint that we provide within our online course is to improve the social intelligence of the coach, to get you more opportunities, to get you more business, to get you more buy-in. And three of the approaches that we take to it are aiming to identify whether I'm speaking to sport coach, the old ball coach, athletic director like yourself, sir, or a parent, or an athlete even. But the three focal points, and you got to find out what this guy is aiming for. Is what he's doing in the weight room aiming for performance? Is what is he doing in the weight room aiming for injury prevention? Or is it aiming for skill acquisition, making more athletic, coachable kids? I would argue if I'm talking to a parent, I'm going to lean on injury prevention.
Sure.
The old ball coach, most likely performance, unless you get the person that says, oh, we need Johnny to improve his footwork. So looking for key terms like footwork, route running, and things within the sport that you could argue, okay, well, that is connected to coordination and skill acquisition. My approach to the warm-up, squatting this way, toes forward, will potentially get whatever the hell they want as long as you get buy-in from that coach. So listen for these things. Is performance the only way? Numbers or wins? Is it injury prevention? Oh, we had it was an ACL year last year. Okay, well, this is the a movement approach that I want to take with the aim of in preventing injuries. Or is it, we need them to improve XYZ on the field? Okay, well, skill acquisition. Let's deep dive into coordination and finding what they can't do and then using the weight room to empower their performance. So providing that social intelligence. But then guess what? Also within the methodology, we give you the X's and O's and how to coach them to then empower performance, literally.
I think if I was a parent or even the AD, the first question I would ask the strength or the football strength coach, whoever it is, hey, do you guys test 1RMs? And I would really start there. And if they say yes, then I think we need a huge change. I think the testing of 1RMs for kids 14 through 18 is highly overrated and completely unnecessary. And especially with the idea of like, hey, we're going to do a percentage-based program where we're going to test a 1RM and then base it off the percentage. I mean, the linear progression that we use with Bedrock and we used within the old CrossFit football amateur progression has been shown to be so much more effective in terms of not only developing skill sets, developing a base level of strength, and helping that athlete really grow into the person that he needs to be. So much so, man, I really wish I could go back in time and do it. I went through that program where, day one we tested 1RMs and then we trained at 80% of that 1RM and never really got stronger. And it wasn't until I remember that first year I started lifting weights, I didn't get much stronger. And it wasn't until that summer came home, my brother came home and we started lifting weights. And he's like, dude, why are you doing all these like singles, doubles, and triples? He's like, you need to do higher reps. So we started doing 5s, 7s, 10s. And all of a sudden, we started basically doing a little bit of linear progression where we're going to hit 10, add weight, hit 10, do 7s, and we started playing in these different rep ranges. And all of a sudden, my strength shot up. Mm-hmm. And the reason being is percentage-based programs do not work for beginners. And
now, let's arm him with some information, John. Can you give a 1, 2, 3 liner of why percentage-based programs don't work for amateurs?
Well, so a percentage-based program has to be based off of 100%. So you're going to ask an individual to lift the one heaviest rep possible, and then we're going to take a percentage of that to be able to figure out our working sets. The problem with that is you have to have a legitimate 1RM. And the one thing that we've found is to have a legitimate 1RM, you have to have opportunity, and you have to have a high training age because you have to have an excellent concert of your muscles. That inter and intermuscular coordination has to work together to be able to fire and give us an efficient reaction. And the problem is that the unadapted nervous system of the beginner is not efficient enough to really be able to get all that stuff in concert and be able to really give the true performance. So instead of just, shooting ourselves in the foot over and over again, you realize being like, I'm not going to test 1RMs because these kids aren't highly skilled enough to perform a 1RM. And if they do perform a 1RM, it's usually pretty crappy. I mean, shit, like I've seen kids who were beginners lift a 1RM and they probably could lift it for 10 reps, So it's like if you can do something 10 times, it's not a true 1RM.
Right.
So there's the unadapted nervous system, which is actually a good thing. And that's why the linear progression works so well, because we can just sneak weight on 5-10 pounds every time we come in. And all of a sudden we build a pretty big base. And we've taken kids from, 20 weeks, we've taken them from a 165 squat to a 405 squat. And the reason being is that fight, keeping the, the sets and the reps pretty constant, adding volume by adding weight to the bar. It's been shown. We've proved it for the last decade plus with thousands of athletes that this is a better situation. Now, once you become a intermediate advanced athlete, now we start having to look at some percentage-based programs. But, really the failure of using a percentage-based program too early is something we've seen just over and over again.
Yeah.
So, and that's not a knock on the coach just because, one, they're not studying the physiology. Two, they haven't had thousands of data points like we have over the last 10 years. And they just don't have it. And then the ego of such that they know everything. For me, with everything, man, I default to the expert on many things, whether it be, trucks or fabricating or, graphic design, branding, whatever it looks like. If you're smarter than me and you know how to do it better, dude, I'm going to bring you on and I'm going to, allow you to do what experts do. I'm not trying to do everything. I'm not trying to play every musical instrument and wear every hat I can, because at the end of the day, you become the bottleneck. And I think for a lot of these coaches, their own ego and their desire to control every aspect of this effectively becomes their demise because they can't see outside the grand scheme to allow those kids to get better.
And resources to provide you. I got two for you. The first is free resource. I did a presentation on amateur strength progression in the Bedrock program. John, speaking of, it's on NSCA's YouTube. I'll provide that into the show notes. And it goes through 20 weeks, what to do, sets, reps, resets, as well as touching on sprinting. But if you want a full-blown, actually coaching, providing experience that includes setup execution of lifts, sprint training, coaching sprinting, coaching speed, and then a deep dive into the application of the program, then we have the Power Athlete coaching methodology. And speaking to this coach, I would also recommend playing to his ego. He is a football coach. He is good at seeing poor execution of movement and then providing the kid with football directions for improvement. How
will you know he's a football coach? The whistle, the polyester bike shorts, high socks, like Dazed and Confused style?
Yeah, breakdown. Oh, it's great. But played to his ego and his ability to spot fault on the field and then correct it. But you are now in there to help him spot fault in movement in the weight room and then correct it. So that's another wall that you can break down. You're going to take his already empowered coach's eye, but apply it and teach him how to execute that with the barbell in there under your watch to make sure no 1RMs or kids get hurt.